there and welcome. This is Preeti. Today I'm using this birthday bouquet stamp set and I've already gone ahead and stamped and embossed it onto a white cardstock using gold embossing powder and also on a pink cardstock using the Ink on 3 fade out color, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. So for the first one here on the white cardstock, which I've embossed with gold, this is a complete stamp, so I've stamped it on a larger sheet of white cardstock and I'm going to start coloring it with some RV colors. And I don't know what I was doing. I did not keep the colors to show you what it is, but I will have the colors in the description box below. Sometimes I've done it, sometimes I've not, and the reason for that is I was talking to my mom on the phone while I was doing this card. I haven't talked to her for a long time. It's been a few days since I talked to her, so there was a lot to tell her, and she was telling me of many things, so I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. I was just on the zone coloring off. So all I'm doing is I'm taking the darkest color here, which is RV14, and I'm going to lay it in the darkest shades, and I'm going to kind of pull the colors, give some texture using my Copic markers, and then I'm going to blend that with RV13 and then RV23 and then RV10, and I just keep repeating. And then after I'm done blending all of it, I take the darkest color, which is RV14, and just add a few very thin lines to show the petals ridges. That's what I'm doing on all of the cards right here, you can see. And I'm going to repeat this process with all of my flowers in this image. So I'm just keeping it very neutral, very basic colors. So just two colors. I've chosen pinks for the flowers and some grayish blue greens for the leaves, which you will see eventually. I also need to pardon if you do hear noises of men working and hammering sounds. It's because I don't know if you know, we just moved from Minneapolis to North Carolina a couple of months ago, and we bought a new house, and I am redesigning my kitchen, and I just finished designing it, and I'm having all the contractors and the workers getting stuff done. So today is all the electrical work, so I have some electricians working downstairs. So please pardon me if you hear any noise. I've kept my room closed, and I have definitely made it as soundproof as possible, but if you do hear noises, pardon me, it's because of the work that is being done in the house. Anyway, as I'm blathering around, you can just see here how I am just blending these colors. Again, Copics are very what I can say, you can really do a lot with Copics. You can keep it as simple as you want, and you can add as much texture as you want. It's just about what style you like. You can definitely not do these ridges on the petals. You can just do a basic blend, which I will show eventually in my video, in the same video here. But for this one here, because it is the main focus, as I said, it's very simple. I'm just keeping two colors for this entire palette, and two color hues for the entire floral stamp. So the only way I could add more interest was to create a few ridges and kind of create texture onto the flowers itself. And that's the reason why I am adding all these lines and leaving spaces and stuff like that. But of course, if it's easier for you, you can definitely do a basic blend. When I say basic blend, it's just starting off with the darkest color and blending it through and through to the lightest, without adding any of those lines and following the illustration of the flowers, and still it would look beautiful, especially if you've done a gold embossing to your flowers. You don't necessarily need to do all of these things because the embossing itself brings those flowers to life a whole lot, and just adding color inside it would be perfect. And if Copic is hard, if it is intimidating, you could use any medium you like to use. You could do watercolors, you could do color pencils. Really, you can do a lot with these because, as I said, the stamp itself is very gorgeous. It's a large stamp. There's so much detail in the stamp itself that you don't really need to do a whole lot to the flowers. So as you can see here, I'm continuing to color these flowers. in the same pattern that I did. And I'm not going to show you all the flowers. It took me about close to around, I would say about an hour, 45 minutes to color this card, and to pretty much make the entire card it took me about 2.5 hours. It had quite a few steps. Again, not a card that you would be making to mass produce, of course. Something that you can make for someone special that you want to give to. This is a birthday card, so someone you want to give it, and again you want to deliver it hand delivery, then this is a good card to create. So as I said earlier, I am not going to show you coloring all the flowers. I pretty much did exactly the same method of coloring what I'm doing here for all the flowers in this particular stamp set, and I'm going to just pretty much finish up this flower that I'm working on right now in a couple of seconds here. And then I'm going to move on to my leaves, and that's pretty much that. And here you can see that whole thing is, and see how beautiful that looks. It's such a stunning stamp set, seriously. Okay, so now we're beginning to color the leaves, and for the leaves, as I said earlier, I've chosen some BG colors, but a little more grayish blue green versus the real blue green. So I actually started off with BG 75, and again I'm doing a very simple coloring here. I'm just laying the darkest color in the vein area, the closest to the vein at the bottom of the leaf, and then I'm blending that with BG, I think it was 52, and then BG 72, and then BG 00, and that's pretty much it. So I'm just going to keep repeating that process on and on again with all the leaves. Again, as I said earlier, it's just 2 color palettes, nothing too fancy, because the stamp set again is so beautiful, and I'm just going to keep continuing to do that. I I had to stop the voiceover for a little while and then get to the door. Someone was at the door, so if there is a variation in the voice while I'm speaking, it's mainly because I had to stop and then come back and restart the video again. I'm sorry, it's a crazy day out here today. Anyway, so here I've completed all the coloring, and this is that second panel, or the second cardstock, the pink one, that I stamped using the ink on 3, and I just want one portion of this stamped image, really. And I'm just taking this die cut from Altenew, and I'm just tracing it just in the place where I want that specific area to be colored. And here, this time, I'm not doing any crazy coloring. I'm just doing very basic blending, which means to say I'm going from the darkest to the lightest. The only other difference I did is I took away the darkest color, which was RV14 for the previous pink, and I've started with RV13 instead, because I want these flowers and leaves to be a little lighter than the one that is in my original image. And if you can notice, I have not done any gold embossing on this either, and you will see why as we progress into this card. So I've kept this very basic, and I'm just doing a very simple coloring on this pink cardstock using the same colors except the darkest one. Oh, and I also added a really light RV, which is RV00. So I removed RV14 and added RV00. In fact, I didn't really need to add the RV00 because the paper's pink was light enough to act as the last color. But then it was not a big deal. It was okay. I still continued to use the RV00, and you can see here all I'm doing is I'm flicking the dark color, blending that with the next lighter color, which is RV23, blending that with RV10, and then blending the RV10 with the RV00. The only advice I would have for this is that when you are doing something like this, especially when there's a no line element, that means to say that a line is almost dissolving in your coloring, make sure you're adding your shadow lines pretty deep. You see how thick my shadow is, the cast shadow that is being casted by the other petal underneath it. It's quite big because that is what's going to show you the separation of each petal. Otherwise, they're all going to look like a huge lump of mass. You won't really notice the variation in the flower. So that contrast is very important when you're doing coloring, which is no line or with a lighter shade of stamped image. And here we're doing the leaves, and for the leaves again I took the darkest color out, which was BG75, and I'm starting off with BG50, whatever this is, 47 or 54 or something like that. But anyway, I will have the numbers in the description box below for you for sure. And then I'm also adding that color to the stem, like from where, or the branch or whatever you call it, from where the leaf is extending onto, because I want that gray to almost dissolve in the background. I don't want any of that gray to be seen in this particular pink cardstock. So again, simple blending, darkest to lightest. I'm now blending the BG, oh my goodness, what is that color that I used? I think it's BG 57. There you go. BG57 with BG72, and then blending that with BG00. And that's pretty much what this entire image was. And then I'm almost getting done here. And you don't want to just come to the edge of where that pencil line is. You try not to color over the pencil line because the pencil line does get trapped, but it doesn't matter because you're going to die cut it. So I'm going to use that same die cut, and I'm going to die cut this using my die cutting machine, and here you can see that that whole image is die cut. And now we're going to fussy cut this entire panel. Now there is a coordinating die. When I filmed this video, I did not have the die cut with me, so that's the reason why I did fussy cutting. And I'm also taking away all the tiny white bits in the middle. If you have a die, of course it'll take care of this part, but I didn't have it, as I said earlier. I am just using my X-Acto knife and my scissors to do the cutting of this. And after cutting, it looks really stunning. I mean, you can just add this to a cardstock and put a sentiment, and it looks so beautiful. Isn't that beautiful? Anyway, so now I've also gone ahead and cut a vellum cardstock with using the same die so that it matches up with that piece that we colored on the pink cardstock. And I'm going to use a couple of sentiments from this same stamp set, and the sentiments I'm using is "Have a Fabulous Birthday," and I'm going to stamp and emboss it with gold embossing powder. Now you can see why I didn't add embossing to the bottom, to that pink cardstock. If I had used embossing, it would be so much contrast, like there would be a clash and you wouldn't really see the words properly on that embossed, on the vellum itself. So that's the reason why. And the vellum also mutes down that coloring on the pink a lot more, and it really adds to the final project. So now I'm just going to line up that particular leaf with the leaf on the bottom, and I'm just going to adhere that using some foam adhesive. To adhere the vellum, I'm going to add liquid adhesive only to the back of the gold embossed area so that it's not visible anywhere. And then I'm going to place it onto this, and that's all it needed to adhere. Then I'm taking another pink cardstock, the same pink cardstock that I used earlier, and I have cut this to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm going to take this gold spray and I'm going to spray all over it. One, it gives a beautiful shimmer. Two, it tones down that pink to a nice beautiful peachy color. I really loved how it does. And obviously this is not going to be seen a whole lot, but very little. It's going to peek through that stamped and cut image that what I'm going to do is I'm going to just adhere it with some foam adhesive to this peachy cardstock. Sometimes video doesn't really do justice to how beautiful this card looks in real life, seriously. But anyway, here I'm just adhering that to the pink panel, and I'm going to cut away all the excess cardstock that is hanging on the side, and I'm just using my guillotine cutter for this. It makes it so much more easier, and it cuts absolutely straight. So here you can see the whole thing is cut, and now it's time to add some gemstones. And these gemstones are so beautiful. These are from Crafty Meraki's new release, and I really love them. This is the iridescent one, and they're so sparkly. Again, as I said, videos and photographs don't do justice sometimes to the work that you sometimes do. Anyway, so I'm just adding a scattering of these gemstones all over my card, and then I'm going to adhere that to a white side folding note card. Of course, I'm not showing the white note card because my pink panel is the same size as the note card base. So the pink cardstock is not very thick to make it the base, and that's why I wanted to adhere that to a white note card base. And that, my friend, is all done. I really hope you like this video and you give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.